Steam games on Android are finally good now. It's never been easier to play Call of Duty, Red Dead, and even Cyberpunk on your phone. You can now access your entire Steam library with cloud saves, direct Steam downloads, and even multiplayer support, all with zero setup required. The PC emulation scene on Android has grown so much in just the last year, so I want to show you exactly how to get started and what changed that finally made all of this possible. When I covered PC emulation on phones last year, the scene was in a really rough state. There was 27 different forks of emulator apps, WinLeader was extremely confusing to set up, and there was no documentation on what ran and what didn't. But now, almost a year later, apps have gotten much better, performance has gotten way better, and documentation has also gotten a lot better. I want to cover everything with you. It's way easier than ever now to start getting into emulating PC games, and there's 3 main reasons for that. So first, the hardware support has gotten a lot better in the last year. Last year, we tested PC emulation on the Red Magic 10 Pro, and that thing had a monster chip in it, the Snapdragon 8 Elite, that unfortunately, while still being very powerful, was being held back by driver support. Yeah, usually if you want to emulate PC games on phones, you need to have the proper drivers for your specific phone chip. Snapdragons tend to have the best support, with Exynos, Dimensity, MediaTek chips usually having the worst support. Only thing is, we didn't have proper drivers for these new Snapdragon Elite chips, so we had to use generic Vortex drivers. But even running without them, we were still able to play a lot of different high-end games that ran really, really well, all on a phone. So imagine what they could actually run with proper driver support. Well, they just released a brand new Red Magic 11 Pro, which has an even better chip in it, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, making this thing actually the most powerful chip you can buy on the market right now. So powerful, in fact, it has a built-in fan, and they made an insane water cooling loop inside the phone. I mean, this is just so cool. And it's not just for looks either. People did benchmarks, and it does actually cool down the phone, which is really, really cool. And here's the best part. There's finally proper turner drivers for these chips, meaning performance will be a little bit better, yeah, but even more importantly, compatibility for games just spiked for this thing, meaning so many more games can finally run on these chips. And not just tiny little indie games either. I'm talking full-on AAA releases on your phone, assuming you got the space for it. Thankfully, I got a 1 terabyte model here, so we're gonna test out a bunch of games on this thing and show you how easy it is to run PC games now. And big thanks to Red Magic. They're sponsoring this video because they genuinely believe that this is the future of where mobile gaming is headed. Okay, so that's reason number 1. But reason number 2 is that we now have way more options for PC emulators on the Android side now. Yeah, WinLeader, which was the biggest app for doing this type of stuff, is very dense, to put it nicely. And while it can be navigated, it is not user-friendly at all. It's not something I'd be comfortable just handing over to a beginner. Now, there was an app called GameHub that was made to make this whole process way more streamlined, and it allowed you to download straight from your Steam library, so you're not just limited to just DRM-free copies of games anymore. But there is a catch to this app. It is really invasive. It asks you for a lot of different permissions that don't really seem necessary for a PC emulator. Like, you have to make an account. There's just no way around it. It asks for your contacts, your location data, and a lot of other permissions that I confirmed with other devs aren't necessary to actually run PC games. But the community came up with a solution to this. And we now have GameHub Lite, a modded client that strips out all of the weird permissions required to run the app. And allegedly, even makes games run just a little bit better. So now you can use all the great features of GameHub Lite, like auto-configuring your games, Steam support, and Steam Cloud Save support too, so you can keep playing games where your old save games are, all without having to tell them what blood type you have. Like, come on, really? This is where I feel most people would have the best, most plug-and-play experience. But there are 2 cons that I feel like I should mention. Game downloads, in my experience, are pretty slow, not like 2 bits a second or anything, but definitely slower than it should be. I have gigabit here in the studio, and I'm not getting anywhere near those speeds on GameHub. And 2, a more important topic, I spoke to the dev and he told me that while updates are coming, it's going to be really slow to get feature parity with main GameHub. Since we don't have access to the source code, it's not native, so it's always going to be a little bit behind. But that brings me to my second option, game native, which I personally believe is going to be the way ahead moving forward. Oh, right, by the way, I'm sure you noticed, I got a new studio space. It's been in the works for a little while now, and even though it's like really empty right now, I honestly can't wait to start expanding here and making even bigger projects here. And it's all thanks to you guys. So Seriously, I really appreciate you guys. If you want to see the behind the scenes of what the first week moving in here has been like, I filmed the whole moving process and made a video about it on my second channel. You're gonna love the channel name, by the way. I was sitting on that username for like 2 years. Check in the description. I thought I should mention it somewhere in here. Now, Game Native is a lightweight emulator that is completely open source, built from the ground up, so that way it can be way more optimized for performance and feature parity. It downloads games like way faster than GameHub Lite. It can even play some games that not even GameHub can run. It also has support for importing your own games, game cover support, cloud save, dual screen support, and the best part, it can not only play Steam games, but they just added support for GOG and Epic Games. So if you're one of those people that claims all the free games when they give them out on the Epic Store, great news. You already have a huge library you can start playing right now on your devices. Now, Game Native is a work in progress, so it's not as feature-rich as something like GameHub. However, because it's being open sourced and it's being rebuilt from the ground up, that means progress is moving very fast, way faster than GameHub Lite, and eventually, even the GameHub Lite developer mentioned to me, it will even surpass it in performance and features. Game Native is what I see everyone using in like a year or so. And it has an amazing integration built in that, no exaggeration, is gonna completely change how people run and install PC games on their devices. But I'll get to that later. Now I'm gonna show you what's possible on these devices compared to a year ago. The biggest change you'll notice with the Red Magic 11 Pro is that while before, on older models, a lot of games needed to have a cooler, otherwise they would start throttling the games. But this phone can play a lot more games at higher frame rates and without having to use a cooler. Now, some bigger games are still gonna need a cooler on the back, unfortunately, but I think you'll be really surprised what you can run here. So let me show you that next. Okay, I wanna start with some games that are pretty light. These are great because despite them being almost impossible to run just a year ago, now they run so well on this phone, and they can be played on balanced or even eco mode. Like, they don't even have to have the fan on to have a great experience. Hades 2 is the first one that comes to mind. Big fan of Hades personally, and it runs beautifully on this phone. And it's an amazing experience running handheld, especially since this one has Steam Cloud Save support. Running at an ultra-wide resolution and on balanced mode, this game can run at about 100 FPS, but dips to the 90s when action gets a little bit more hectic. And if you really want to push this thing on Rise mode, which is the phone's like power gaming mode, it can hit all the way up to 150 frames, which if you really wanted to, you can take advantage of, since this phone has a 120Hz screen. But my advice, honestly, keep it on balance mode and set an FPS cap to around 90, and you'll have an amazing experience for this game. But I mean, I've seen a lot of other channels cover this game already though. I'm sure you're also tired of seeing it too, so okay, what else can we run? Of course, I had to try Hollow Knight on here. On eco mode, it already blasts on 90 plus frames without it even breaking a sweat. And on balance mode, it just, okay, yeah, that's just absurd. Honestly, set an FPS cap. You don't need to be running this at full blast with this game. But yeah, it runs. Mega Bonk has my heart, dude. If there's any game you end up trying because of this video, please let it be this one. Best way I could describe it is like Vampire Survivors, but 3D. No, don't worry, that's not being rude, I promise. That's literally what the dev calls it. See? Look. Okay, listen, you know that feeling that Balatro gives you when you get like a really good Joker mode going and the number just keeps going up and it just really makes you want to gamble. Yeah, this game gives you that exact feeling and it's so fun. On balance mode, this one could easily get you a solid 70-ish frames, sometimes dipping to high 60s when it starts to get really hectic. But I mean, I just love this game so much, man. This might be my new obsession, honestly. Even more so now that I can finally play this portably. I think they have like a demo somewhere. Seriously, go try it after you finish this video. It's so good. We finally got Source games running on mobile. I know, you can cry a little bit if you have to. Portal 2 runs just fine on eco mode with about 90-ish frames. I feel like this is the perfect game to have on your phone, and it sips power, seriously. I've even seen some people manage to get this running in split screen co-op mode just fine. But now that we know that Source games can run, that opens up a whole world of old school Source games that we can finally play on our phones. What would you want to try? But Portal isn't the only Source game I was able to run. Left 4 Dead 2, my beloved, runs at over 100 FPS on Rise mode, and it's a really great experience, especially with a controller. But here's something really interesting that's happened since I last covered PC emulation. As it turns out, thanks to now having Steam support and everything, some games have multiplayer support now on an emulator. Like, that's crazy. So I don't even have to do any sort of tinkering or anything for this to work. I just boot up the game and join the lobby. It's seamless.
I am a terrible teammate. Oh my god.
I bought this game for like $3 all the way back in like 2012 to try and test out the performance of my very first gaming PC. Now it's running on my phone, and I can play with my friends if I wanted to. But that's not all. I found even more games that have multiplayer support. From what I tested, if the game doesn't have any anti-cheat, odds are there's a pretty good chance that it'll work. For example, Mortal Kombat 11 seems to work just fine. I ran a benchmark and it was able to get a rock hard 60 frames. And online matchmaking and everything works perfectly too.
Oh.
Until now. For some reason, it was working just fine all the way until I was ready to start recording gameplay. Now I just can't continue a match for some reason.
Fuck.
I'll keep investigating, but in the meantime, I got Tekken 7 running just fine. 60 frames and everything. I haven't played a Tekken game in a very long time, and I forgot just how overstimulating this game is. Oh my god.
But he's fighting a fucking bear?
Fight.
That's the whole thing? Oh my god! Bro! Oh my god!
You lose.
But it's still super cool that you can carry proper, nice PC fighting games in your pocket like this. It works really, really well.
I just picked her because she's cute. I don't know. No, not the bear again! God damn it.
Okay, I've been dying to show this off. I managed to get Black Ops Zombies online, all the maps and everything, all running on this phone, and it's so good. I will mention though, it's not as plug and play as you think. There's a few steps to get it running, but it does work. So this is all possible thanks to an app called Plutonium, which is a modded multiplayer client for a lot of the old school Call of Duty games like Modern Warfare, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, World of War, you get it. This is what lets you join multiplayer servers and even modded zombies maps if you want. There's a really specific way you have to install this though. There was a little bit of trial and error, but I got it. Hopefully this helps someone get Black Ops running. First, you download the Plutonium client on a Windows PC and put the exe in its own separate folder. Then right-click to open in terminal and run this command so the entire app installs inside this folder. We're basically dragging the entire installation folder over to our phone here. Then, once you get to the sign-in screen, grab your Steam copy or, any copy of Black Ops 1 and drag the whole thing over to the Plutonium folder. All right, then once you're sure that your game works, plug in your phone and drag the whole Plutonium folder onto your phone. Now let's add it to Game Hub. This is where I think a lot of people end up getting stuck. Tap on Import PC Game, go to your Plutonium folder, go to Bin, and Plutonium Launcher. Cool. Now go configure the game with the best settings. I'll link mine in the description. And if you did everything right, you should be able to sign into the launcher. Now we just have to attach our game files by hitting Game Settings, select DIR, and linking your Black Ops game folder. Little tip, the E drive is usually your phone's internal storage. Now the first boot up might take a little bit longer than usual, but if you did everything right, bam, Black Ops 1 running on your phone. But for real this time. We've come such a long way since the iPod Touch did. There's like 4 people that know what I'm talking about right now. And it's a really great experience. There is a weird stutter when you open doors, but other than that, it's a flawless 90 FPS all the time.
You have much honor.
Oh, by the way, because I know some people are gonna ask, the controller I'm using is called the MCON controller. It's actually really nice. I've been using it for a couple months now, and it's been like my favorite way to play. It's a really compact Bluetooth controller, reminiscent of like the PS Xperia Play. And the whole pitch is that it's supposed to just magnetically snap onto your phone with MagSafe, so you can just take it off really easy, really quickly, and stuff it in your pocket. Unlike the other controllers where you have to clip it in and clip it out if you need to take a phone call or something, and since that's just so annoying. Now this phone doesn't have MagSafe, unfortunately, so I had to put a magnetic sticker on it, but it is on there tight once it slaps on. Also, no one else has been talking about this, but it has such a nice kickstand mode. This whole thing detaches from the controller part, You could just have like a really nice, comfy controller setup. Like this is so cool, dude. The only complaint I really have is the whole package becomes a bit top heavy, but like, come on, that's not really the fault of the controller. That's entirely dependent on whatever phone that you're using. But yeah, combine this with some multiplayer Black Ops Zombies, and it's the best portable COD Zombies experience, dude. It's so good. Like picture just a few of your homies just all getting in a lobby together and playing Kino on your phones. Like, that's crazy. Anyways, I hope showing the setup process kind of helps someone to get this figured out. I'll link my configuration settings in the description. Okay, now for the crazy stuff. Stuff that's actually playable now thanks to the compatibility and the power that these phones have. Now mind you, these games do still require a cooler since this phone can get really, really hot when playing this. But I still think it's really impressive and I really want to show it off. Okay, Red Dead 2. Yes, that Red Dead 2 is now running on a phone. I wasn't able to get this to run on widescreen. The game had an issue with detecting my aspect ratio for some reason, but at 720p it ran really nicely. I ran the benchmark and I was shocked to see this actually hit over 60 frames, but it's more like 40s to 50s in the actual city. I also had to run a cracked version of this game since the Rockstar launcher is really finicky on Linux, unfortunately. But I've already seen some people beating this game from start to finish on their phones, which is crazy. I don't know if I could do that. Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually running on ultra-wide at PS4 settings. I was really surprised by this. It looks so good on this screen. The game can hop anywhere from 60 to 40 FPS, but it's way too variable to really enjoy it that way. I'd say stick a 30 FPS cap on this game and have an amazing time running this portably. This one also doesn't need a cooler to run, which I thought was really impressive. And last but not least, Cyberpunk. Okay, I won't lie, this is more of a proof of concept more than anything, because anyone telling you that this is playable is just straight up lying right now. I've seen some videos on YouTube showing this playing at like a 50 to 60 FPS, but truth is, they're using FrameGen, which uses AI upscaling to make extra frames, and it feels horrible on here. The input lag is like 3 business days. That's how they're getting those super high frame rates on their screens. In reality, when turning FrameGen off and on the Steam Deck preset, I can sort of hit 30 frames, but as soon as you start getting into the city or start doing anything super intensive, the frames start to dip. And yet it still somehow runs better than the PS4 version. But I still wanted to show this off because a year ago, the possibility of running Cyberpunk on a phone wasn't even considered a possibility at all. Now it's actually running on here. I feel like Cyberpunk is going to be the next Can It Run Doom game that we start seeing everywhere. Anyways, come back in a year and tell me if Cyberpunk ended up being playable. I want to know what happens.
Well, I can't even hear you.
It's almost been a year since I covered the state of the PC emulation scene, and I could not be happier with how much easier, how much faster, and how much more accessible it's all become since then. But I did say 3 reasons, and there's one more reason why I feel like this scene has gotten much better in my opinion, and that's the documentation. This is actually my favorite thing that came out of the last video on this topic. So remember when I said this? While researching for this video, I discovered a gap in the PC emulation scene because while most other modding communities already tend to have like an updated guide of the latest steps on how to get your modding thing set up, the PC emulation has nothing, literally nothing. I think I want to tackle the idea of dumping all of my documentation of things that I learned while researching this video and putting it into a site or a wiki, something clear, something constantly updated and easy to share. Just a simple link you can send to a friend so they can get things up and running. But I can't do it alone. When I made that video, there was no wiki or guides or anything on how any of this stuff worked. It was by far my longest research video on this channel because I had to find out everything manually. And that's because there was no main wiki or any place to be able to just jump in, figure out what settings would work, and just start playing my games. Now, I don't want to take credit for this. One of the main reasons I make these videos is the hopes that it'll reach the right people. Talented and creative people that would love to contribute to all these amazing modding scenes, but just never found it because they didn't know that existed. And well, sometimes it does end up reaching the right people.
I watched your video like 11 months ago, and you brought up a very interesting point at the end of it. A lack of documentation, a lack of resources, a lack of help from the community in general.
This is productivity, and he's created something I feel is genuinely gonna make this scene so much easier for everyone.
Emulation is at its core is basically a database or how some people call it, a glorified Google Sheet.
So this is Emulation. If you were ever looking for the right settings for your specific device or wondered if it was even worth downloading in the first place, that is what Emulation is. You just look up your device or just search by game if you prefer, and Emulation will show you reports on the devices that other people have tested with that game already. with all their settings too, so there's no more guessing.
I think the ideal goal for EmuReady is that it is a platform for people who like to tinker and are very technical to share these things and discuss all these things. And the people who are not as technical can use this information to basically apply these things without caring about how all these things work and still play their games.
Plus, if you found a configuration that you discovered that works for you, you can upload it to the site, and now everyone else can find your settings, so it becomes much easier for the rest of the community. And because he directly told me that he also sees game native as the way forward, he's already integrating direct support with game native. So if someone already made a preset that's confirmed to work on whatever device you have, it can automatically apply all of those settings for you, and you can just hit play without having to configure anything. That's amazing.
Like EmuReady is open source. It's free. We're getting 1.7 million unique users a month. Yeah, I noticed the bill was like almost 280 euros last month. So I checked the amount of users. So yeah, it's great to see that a lot of people are getting value out of it. Like a lot of people also have like messaged me and DM me saying like how much this has helped them.
This is exactly what I wanted when I made the last video, an ecosystem where people can contribute and share information together so that the entire scene benefits and grows. Oh, and you know all the games that I tested for this video? Well, I'm posting all of the configuration settings for all the games that I played today over on my EmuReady page, so anyone with a Red Magic 10 or 11 Pro can just go copy my settings and go play. This is just my way of trying to contribute somehow. I would love for you if you watching, if you could go check it out. Go on EmuReady, see what games or devices are missing, and if you have one, contribute. Help make the entire scene more playable. It's people like you that help make these communities stay alive. The PC emulation scene has already grown so much since I covered it almost a year ago, and I only see it getting bigger this year, especially since Valve is already putting in a translation layer for Steam games in their upcoming VR headsets this year. I don't see this going away anytime soon. If you were looking for a time to finally start emulating PC games, it's never been a better time to get started. Again, big thank you to Red Magic for sending over these phones to test these games on. Definitely go check them out in the description. Oh, and if you want to know why and how I moved over to this new spot, click over here. I'm still learning. Click over here. I think you'll really like it. And thank you for watching.